Welcome back to Holistic Moms. I'm your host, Shan Wright. Okay, so today I'm having a guest on, and a few reasons why I wanted to have this guest. Number one is, as holistic beings, and if you are married, you know that your marriage plays a huge role in what's going on in your mind and body and soul. It's actually shown statistically that summer is really, really hard for marriage. I know this to be true in my own marriage. And I wanted to bring a episode that could give you some help when it comes to that, just some direction. We don't have all the answers in this episode, but it is a great resource to tap into. The other reason I wanted to have this guest on is because as moms, nurses, caregivers, we live a lot in our heads. We're so caring, and we let our thoughts spiral and overthink a lot of things. We push through the stress, we manage schedules, we deal with these emotions by tucking them away and just keep going because we don't have time to deal with our own emotions. We're caring for other people, right? And we just keep going. But our bodies, you know what? They hold the story, and they hold the stress, and they hold the trauma and the unspoken emotions. And that is where somatic work comes in. It's a way to reconnect the body and mind. It's releasing what has been stored and creating space for healing and peace. And the benefits are super powerful: reducing anxiety, improved sleep, nervous system regulation, and clarity, just a lower stress level. And you can show up for your life and your people in your life with more awareness and more presence. So today's guest, Shay Joyner, knows this firsthand. Shay is a daughter of the Most High King, first and foremost. She's also a mother to 4 and a wife to 1 of 13 years. Living within her comfort zone for a majority of her life, the Lord, in his sovereignty and goodness, brought her through some rough patches and seasons, revealing to her the real strength she has through him, and that there is far more that God has in store for her that she could ever think or imagine. And one of these things she's going to talk about on the podcast, and how she stepped into it with boldness and obedience through, for one, using somatic work, and then 2, just trusting God. So get ready to be encouraged, and would love to hear your feedback on this episode via email or Instagram, or on a review on the podcast, or by supporting Shay. So all of this would be great. Let's dive in. Hey mama, are you overwhelmed by your full, blessed life? Do you feel stuck in the messy, mundane middle? Then I'm so glad you're here to take a breath. Hey, I'm Shan Wright, RN, holistic wellness coach, and a mom to 4 that went from perfectionism, control, and lots of anxiety to intentionally living through simple solutions and so much peace. If you are done with the stressed out life, hot mess express type of motherhood, then heat up that coffee again, and let's live holistically well in the middle. Let's go. Okay, guys, I am super excited to introduce to you another guest today. This is going to be an amazing conversation, and I can't wait to get into it. So, Shay, welcome to the show.
Hey, thank you. Thank you for having me.
Yes. So this is so exciting because we live in the same town. We go to the same church, but we just met 5 minutes ago on this Zoom.
Yep.
Yes, that's so fun. I just love, we go to a big church, but I know I've probably seen your face around, and now we actually get to have a conversation. I love it.
Yeah, let's do it. I'm excited. So excited to be here.
Okay. And I love how our names go together, by the way. That was just something I was thinking of as I was, I love the name Shay. I actually have a cousin named Shay, and he's a boy. But I was like, Shay and Shan. I love it.
Yeah. Very cute.
Very cute. We should do something with that. Okay. So please introduce you and your family to the listeners.
Yeah. So I'm Shay, as we said, and I live here in Indiana, and I have I've been married to my husband almost 13 years. We have 4 kids, 2 boys, 2 girls. They are 20, 11, 7, almost 8, and 4. And so, yeah, just busy life with them and everything going on. But yeah, that's my family.
Yeah, I love it because we have very similar ages. Besides the 20-year-old, we
Yeah,
have the same ages and the same. We were talking about same gender, but just flip flopped, and I love
right.
it. Okay, because we talk about stress here, and we want to lessen all of our stress. Please share with us your wisdom on things that you are doing in your life. Two things that you're doing that are making your life less stressful in this current season, and it's May, so
Yeah.
I hope you got something good for us.
Yeah. Yeah. So the first thing that comes to mind when you say that is so I've been walking a lot lately. So when the weather's nice, I prefer to go outside. If it's not nice outside, then I will walk. I have like a walking pad at home, but I prefer to do it outside. I realize that when I'm outside, there's just this thing where I feel like I'm closer to God. It's quiet, it's just me. And I purposely don't walk in my neighborhood because I'm nosy and I'm kind of like a squirrel. And so I'm like looking at houses and I'm like, oh, that's nice. Ooh, I should get that. And so I don't walk in my neighborhood. I leave the neighborhood and I take like this trail. So it's just like trees and the weather and the breeze. And you may see an occasional car, but just like kind of zoning out and going for a walk, that brings me peace and calm. And just so that's one thing that I do. And then another thing I do, I sit in my closet usually early morning. And I even got one of these, I don't even know what it's called, but it's like a chair and it folds up. And I sit in my closet and that's where I'll have like my morning devotions and things like that. So those two things really are like bring me peace and calm and less stress.
Yes. Okay. So I love the walking thing. I'm in the market for a walking pad as well. Even
Yeah.
though it's getting nice outside, I'm like, I still have to work and
Yeah.
I just want to walk all day. I just want
Yeah.
to be outside walking all day. And
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, I can't. I actually have to get some stuff done. So, and that's so funny that you don't walk in your neighborhood. I think that's very smart, very thinking ahead kind of
Yeah.
thing. We have two very similar things that like make our life less stressful. So, listeners, there you go. That's a bell, another bell, but not because someone else needs you, because you need you. If you're a nurse, caregiver, healthcare professional, always helping others and not ever helping yourself, now is the time to take a look at your own stress level. What is stress doing to your body internally, externally? How is it coming out? Where is your stress? And are you headed to burnout? Are you already in burnout? Don't ignore the signs and symptoms that are coming up all the time because you're caring for others and not yourself. Our stress builds, and then one day we realize we're in burnout. And that is why I'm offering you a free stress assessment call. This is a short, personalized session, one-on-one, where we're going to uncover your current stress level, what's actually causing it, and your next best step to get relief. You don't have to figure this out alone. You don't have to wonder, am I in burnout? You don't have to wonder if I'm headed there fast. Go right now to bit.ly/stress assessment call. Let's catch the stress before it leads to burnout. Go now and book your call today. Okay, now I'm excited to hear your testimony. We love to just shed light on what God is doing in our life, the stories that he's writing so that we can overcome the enemy. Like that's what it does when we proclaim the
Yeah.
goodness that God has done in our life. And so we would love to hear what God's been doing in your life and take us wherever you want us to go, as far
Yeah.
back as you want to go, and lead it to what you're doing today. How did you get to what you're doing today?
Yeah, so I have to figure out how to tie that, but
Yeah.
just to you where like how I got here with my relationship with Jesus. So I grew up in church. My parents have been going to church since like the beginning of time. So I always say I've been going to church since I was in the womb. And so I grew up in church my entire life, knew about God, but to me, church was like very boring. God was boring. It was something for older people. And I'm like, I'm young. I want to live my life. I want to do things. And like, so I always had the mindset of like, but I believed in God. You know, I saw what God was doing in the life of my parents, things that God would come through for, and my mom would tell stories of like, God did this and God did that. So I believed, and I'm like, one day I'm going to serve God, but maybe when I'm older.
Mm-hmm.
I'm young right now. I want to enjoy myself, because I also associated following God with like, you can't do this and you can't do that, and a lot of can'ts, and just a boring, very adult life. I'm
Yeah.
like, young, maybe one day. And I'll never forget, one day I was probably like 21 or 22 at the time. She was 20. A friend of mine moved. I'm from New York, and she was also from New York, and she wanted something new, and she moved to Georgia to pursue like a career, and she moved out there. And to make a very long story short, she was like killed. Wrong place, wrong time type of thing. And I remember that like just gutting me, because I remember thinking, here I am planning to serve God one day when I'm older, when I'm old, and I'm just trying to live my life right now. And I'm like, oh my gosh, that really hit me as a young person, that like tomorrow really isn't promised. And
Mm-hmm.
so that's when everything changed for me, because I was like, that's when I finally realized that I'm planning for a day that I really don't know if it's coming. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? And so that was when I gave my life over to Christ, and that was like 2009. And so ever since then, it's just been a journey of just growth and just getting to know the Lord more and more. And back then, when I was in my early 20s, my parents still went to that church that I found boring.
Uh-huh.
And my mom was like, well, you don't have to go to church with us, but you need to go to church. So find somewhere. And that's when I got introduced to a non-denominational church, and I've been hooked ever since, because I grew up Nazarene. Yeah, that's kind of when it started, really starting to kind of like change my mindset around God and church and faith and all of those things. And then fast forward to present day, I'm a grown woman, married. Well, actually, I should back up a little bit. I'm a young single mom, because I did back in the day prior to giving my life to Christ. I had a son, and I was a young teenage single mom. And so, but I gave my life over to Christ my early 20s, and I'm now living for the Lord. And I'm like, one day I want a husband, and, then I'll have more kids later and things like that. And so I'm just kind of like going all in with God and church, and, just waiting for whatever God has for me. And I remember two of the requirements when I was looking for a spouse was he needed to be okay with, I want to go to church. I love the Lord, things like that. And then I was celibate. I'm like, I'm until I get married. Those were like the two things back then, as a young Christian woman.
Mm-hmm.
And when I met my husband, those things were okay with him. And I was thinking and then there were other things, of course, that I was attracted to him. And, he had ambition and goals and things like that. There were other criterias as well, but those were the two things. And so I'm like, well, what more do you want? I found the perfect man. Now, keep in mind, fast forward with the mindset I have today, he wasn't, he didn't have a relationship with Jesus. He also grew up in church. He believed in God, and he was okay with going to church. So
Mm-hmm.
those are two different things that I now know, but back then, I don't think I understood that.
Yeah.
And so, fast forward, we get married, and my faith is now growing as we find community and the right church and things like that. And he's very much like, I believe in God, but like he doesn't have a relationship with Christ. And so there was a lot of me and the Lord conversations of just like, what is going on? Like this man doesn't really have a heart for God the way I didn't understand. There was a difference between someone who has a relationship with Jesus and someone who's just like, well, I love God, and, God is there. And so there was a lot of complaints in my private time with me and God and things like that, and struggling in my marriage with that. Fast forward to on one of my walks, I remember kind of complaining of God, and like, I feel like men need community. They need to, I wish there was something for men, because this is me seeing over the years the things that my husband lacks. Like he
Mm-hmm.
wants, and you can tell he wants that community, but it's very difficult for him. Like unlike women, where we'll go out there and we'll meet friends and we'll make connections, and that's just kind of how we are, our nature. They're not really like that, to take that initiative sometimes. And so I remember I'm just like complaining. I'm like, God, like, I feel like this is what they need. And I'm just like rattling off, to God. And I remember one day the Lord pretty much told me to write it, because he was like, do it yourself. Because little backstory is I do love to write, and there are other projects that I'm working on and that I'm writing. And the Lord, I was pretty much asking God to put something out there. Like, hey, dude, I think men need this. And kind of like expecting something to pop up out there. Like, well, you do it. Gave me the title and everything. And so that fast forward to today, I wrote an 8-week workbook meant for men to be utilized in small group form to encourage them into community, to have real conversations, not just like surface level. Who's married? How many kids do you have? Where do you work? Okay, great. Let's eat and just leave. Like, but real deep, meaningful conversations to get to the root of some maybe pain, trauma, past things, and just really heal and have community and deep conversations and build and develop that. Because we're saved by Jesus, but we confess our sins to one another to be healed. And I think that is a component that a lot of us are missing, is that community piece, and especially with males.
Yes.
Sorry,
Okay.
that was a mouthful.
Yeah. I'm like, where do I start? No, that was great. I love, God brought you through, your test. I had similar story in those 20 years. Not, similar in the fact that I like went off course, and then you have these traumas that happen in your life, and you're like, okay, no, this is life. This is serious. I'm an adult now. I need to take my faith seriously, and this is the real deal. So I love that wake up call, because that is what we need sometimes, just
Yeah.
to snap us back to reality. But yeah, we got to talk about this workbook. That this is an interesting concept, that God told you as a woman to write this. And I think I've probably seen something on the shelf like this before, of some sort, or book, but typically they're always from men, right? It's a
Mhm.
male author writing to a man, but you've lived with them. You've lived with a husband that
Yeah.
he needs this, and you
Yeah.
can see that your son probably needs this. Take me through like that obedience part of God telling you this, and you being like, okay, you're saying write it, God, but that sounds hard.
Yeah.
And is anyone gonna then read it and buy it? Like, I'm not just doing this for my own good. What were some of your doubts that crept in, the lies? How did you push them aside and walk that path of obedience that from the outside, it seems like that was probably hard, but fill us
Yeah.
in.
Yeah. So first it started, as I mentioned, I do love to write, and I consider myself a writer. I'm a new writer, so it's not like I have a bunch of books out there. But I was originally writing a book for women, kind of like what I said, some of the things that I didn't know before getting married that I wish I had known,
Mhm.
as a Christian woman looking for, and understanding what marriage is and things like that. That's what I was originally working on.
Okay.
And I'm talking like a couple years, I'm writing that. And one particular day, I picked up my laptop, ready to write, and the file was like gone. It would not open. It just would not open. And I was like devastated, because I really felt like the Lord was leading me there. Because I'm like, I'm living this, I'm learning things. This is what I
Mhm.
have to offer the world. Like the struggles that I've had in my marriage, this is not in vain. This is what the Lord wants me to do. And so I really felt like this was it. So now that I couldn't open the file, I was like, this is crazy. What is going on? But I had enough sense to be like, all right, God, well, what do you want me to write then? Because I really do feel like writing is what you want for me. But am I like, is this not it? And the very next day on the walk is when I got this book. And my initial reaction was, because I literally, it wasn't audibly, because I've never heard the Lord audibly, but it was almost like a knowing in my spirit. I like felt like I heard, not heard, but I just felt it in my spirit, the title of the book. And I was like, that was literally what I looked like. If there was a camera on the street, I was like, but I'm a woman. and and then my next thought was like, well, okay. Well, I was like, all right, I don't know what this looks like, but I'm like, okay, fine. And I remember opening up the notes section of my phone because it was an experience that I had never experienced before, that I felt like it really was God, that I time stamped it. It was September 24th, 2024, 12:19 p.m. I time stamped it in my phone because I was like, I have to like log this because this feels important, that I'm going to need to know this date, this time. And so I put it all in the note section of my phone and I was like, all right. And then like the next day or so, I open up my laptop and I type it out, and it was just flowing.
Mm-hmm.
It was just like coming, like the
Yeah.
ideas, the thing. And that's when I was like, okay, this feels right. This
Yeah.
really must be God. In that moment, I was very excited, even though I didn't really understand. I was very, very excited. The fear really didn't come in until it was getting closer to it being real, like a tangible book.
Yeah.
After finding the publisher and things really going through to the point where it physically being a book and like out there for people, that's when I really got scared.
Mm-hmm.
That's when the fear crept in. And that's when I was like, people are going to laugh at this. They're going to think I'm crazy because, I'm a woman. I guess I can say, to answer your question, I just trust God so much that has to be stronger than the fear. And so
Mm-hmm.
that's kind of where I'm at.
Yeah.
Because even today, I'm still in that, meaning I'm still terrified. Like the book, nothing massive has happened yet to where I'm like, you know what I mean? It's still very, very new. It's still very like unsure. Not a lot of people know about it. Nothing massive has happened, nothing big. So I'm still sitting here like, people are probably laughing at it, thinking I'm silly for writing a book like this. But I trust God and really believe that I heard from him that much that I'm just like, all right, I'm gonna go with that and leave it alone.
Oh, girl, I I can so relate to all those feelings. And I've told my podcast, well, I don't know actually when this episode's going to come out, but my audience knows I've been in like a pruning season. And what I
Mm,
kept picturing when you were saying I was writing this book for years and I'm learning and I'm growing and it's good and it's a process, but I know that God's with me. It was like all good things aren't the right thing.
oh,
And it was God was using that is what I was picturing was you were growing fruit, but in order to grow more fruit and the better fruit that God has for you, he had to cut it off.
yeah.
And that just happened to me in so many different scenarios in my life that I'm in that pruning season to where I'm anticipating that fruit because I know I'm just trusting God
Yeah.
on this path.
Hmm.
And you can't choose anything but obedience in
Yeah.
that. Like you just are like I know this is from God, this pruning, because I'm walking with him. So if I'm abiding in the vine, then I know there's a pruning process. It has to
Yeah.
happen.
Yeah.
And so that I'm going to trust that the growth is coming from God.
Right.
And oh, I so relate because obviously I'm doing work out in the world too, where it's like this could go far and wide, but I mean, I'm just trusting God that it will because I have no control over that.
Hmm.
Anyway, I love that. I love how you said that. And the phrase that's on my wall and I look at every day is obedience precedes the miracle. We
Mm.
all want the miracle. We all want the big thing to happen. We want the book to get in millions of hands. We want the podcast to reach millions of people. That's a miracle. Even if it gets to a few people, that is still a miracle because it could change those few people's lives. And it all starts with the obedience.
Hmm.
And we don't get to choose what it is God asks us to do. We just have to do it.
Yep. Yep.
So I that was so good. And I just honor you for being obedient and just we will Well, I will commit and ask the listeners to as well to pray over that and
Yeah.
for, this workbook to do what it God has it to do. And that's why I've had you on because I'm like, okay, this is awesome. Let's get this word out there. So share with us more about the workbook, more of what it is, your heart behind it, what your mission is with it, what you want it to do in this group setting that you have it designed for.
Yeah. So this is what it looks like, just to show people. I do have a copy right here. So this is what it looks like.
Okay, this may or may not be on video. So the title is Men Are Not Born, They're Made.
The subtitle is The Importance of Male Discipleship.
Okay.
And so my hope is to have it in churches everywhere where men are in small groups and having conversation and building relationships, like real relationships, not surface level, see you on Sunday, give you a pound and keep it moving, but real relationships to where when they're in trouble, when they're in pain, they reach out to another brother, and like real community, real relationships. And another thing in particular that like my heart really wants is, I noticed that, so the church you and I both go to, they have something called, and I'm sure other churches do it as well, the Freedom Group curriculum, right? One thing that I have noticed is, so at our church in particular, our pastor has stood up on the stage and said things like, we all need to be free from something, and then he'll promote the Freedom book, the Freedom Group, and then proceed and to say things like, we have small groups coming up, we have X amount of freedom groups, get in a freedom group, we all have to be free from something. And then so that declaration from the pulpit, it kind of sparks something in the congregation, and people go out and seek these freedom groups. They even go as far as to have booths, like the tables in the lobby of the church, to make it even that much easier for you to then get in a freedom group. And having gone to several freedom conferences myself, those are well attended by both male and females.
Mm-hmm.
On the flip side of that, there is another group that I know a male at our church does called Fight Club, and it's for men.
Yeah.
I was recently having lunch with one of the male church staff members at our church about this book, and he was saying that one of the last few semesters, no one signed up for Fight Club. There was there wasn't many men that wanted to do the Fight Club. And what I gather from that is, I think men and women are different. It's not a bad thing. We're just different. I don't see a lot of men taking the initiative to go on the church website and be, oh, I need a group. I need a group of brothers. Some men probably will, but
Yeah.
majority of men don't do that. So I don't see them taking the initiative to go on the site. All right, let me look. Wednesdays, I need a male group. They're just not doing that. But why do they attend Freedom? Because it's like almost shoved in their faces. It's spoon fed to them. He's talking about it from the stage. There's booths in the lobby. It's very easy for them to get in these groups. So my hope, honestly, is to get this to a place where it's not just on a site at a church, but leadership is talking about it from the pulpit. It's being presented in the lobby, just so that men are really like, because I think it's their nature where you kind of have to spoon feed it to them a little bit. It's just kind of how they're made. It's not necessarily a negative thing. It's just they need a little bit more push. So
For sure.
yeah.
For sure. Do you think it would be a great next step after Freedom?
Yeah. Honestly, I never even thought of it in that way, like a connect freedom, and then
Because I feel like a lot of people do, they go to Freedom, like you said, because it is spoon fed. And whatever church you go to, you might have a small group or a curriculum that is like really talked about a lot. For us, it is Freedom. And a lot of them go because of that convenience and that it's great.
yeah.
But then they don't leave. They continue to go again. And like each semester, they're like, okay, well, I know this now. So
Yeah.
this is easy. This was easy to sign up for. I'm going to sign up for it again. and I'm going to do it
Yeah.
again. Where it's like, this sounds like maybe it would be a great next step
Yeah.
as let's develop some of those friendships and those relationships with different conversation and
Yeah.
different scenarios.
Yeah, again, I think that's a great idea. I never even thought of it in that way. But yeah, that's true. A lot of people, because the next, I mean, like you said, freedom is great. And so that thing that you get from freedom, there isn't anything else. So you just kind of go through it again, and you go through it
Yeah.
again, and you keep going. And which is not bad, because I really do think that the journey that life is, you can
Yeah.
go through freedom once, and then you go through it again, and it's like you're in a different season. So the questions, although they're the same, your responses are different because you're in a different
Yeah.
place. So freedom is amazing. There's nothing
Yeah.
negative there. But yes, I do think that could be a great next step.
You you share that this book is focused on community and having those conversations and about men growing into who God intended them to be,
Yes.
which, you know, like you just said, sometimes they need that extra push to
Mhm.
to realize that they are intended to be great warriors for God. What are some of the key spiritual or emotional barriers that the workbook helps men confront and overcome? And the reason I'm asking this is because, obviously our listeners are women and moms.
Mhm.
And listeners, I want you to think about, with Shay's answer, the men in your life that would benefit from this book
Yeah.
because they may be, dealing with some of these barriers. And it could be your husband, it could be a son, it could be a grandson, it could be a father in law. I don't know. But think of the men in your life that could benefit when you hear her answer. And then it's up to you to share it because we want this for ourselves. We hear a good study book and a small group book and a curriculum. We're like all about it. We're like, sign
Yes.
me up. I'm there. Get my friends there. But men, like Shay has said, don't do that. So
Mhm.
we need to be their cheerleaders. We need to be their helpmate. We need to be their support and say, hey, whoever, I heard of this amazing workbook. Do you think you could get somebody together at church and go through this? Like, anyway, so back to you, Shay.
Yeah. So there are a lot. Well, not a lot. It's 8 weeks because I try. It's catered to men. It's not. It's very thin. They could roll it up, put it in their back pocket. It's all the things. One thing in particular, men have a lot of times that I've noticed their worth is tied to the doing.
Mm-hmm.
The career, the amount of money that they make. What can they provide for their wives, their children? Like that's how they are. They a lot of times dreams and goals and aspirations are put to the side because maybe those dreams are not very financially lucrative. So you do something else that maybe you don't really want to do because I got to make more money. I got to go make more money than the next guy, or provide fancier cars and things of that nature. So one of the things that is in there is having those conversations with each other in the group, bringing up the lies that the enemy has told you as a man. One of the questions is asked, have you ever been told any of these lies before? And there are literally things that are listed out as examples for them to kind of discuss and go through, and then they're debunked with scripture, and there's time for them to reflect and write and then discuss it as a group. And again, then there's scripture of like what God really says about you and things like that.
That's really good. So, again, women, moms, you're listening to this, spread it. It would be an amazing workbook to give to that male in your life that could benefit from it and not just any, your typical barbecue apron, but this is going to be some like an actual gift
Yeah.
that would transform their lives. So, I love that. Is there anything else you want to say about the book before we wrap up?
Trying to think. No, just that there are two, meaning there's a leader's guide and as well as the workbook. So just keep that in mind if you're looking to get it. And they look the exact same, only one says leader's guide and the other one has nothing on it. But yeah, so there's a leader's guide for the male that decides they are going to lead a group. And it's super easy. Like there's no major prep work or anything. The leader's guide does have leader's notes just to kind of help that male facilitate the group, some tips, suggestions, things like that. But other than that, it's yeah, super basic, easy. And my prayer is that men are healed and transformed. And I really do believe that being that God created men first, men to be the leaders, men to be the head, I really do believe that if we can heal men, truly heal men, not surface level heal, but then they go home and the family knows what they're really like. But I'm talking men that are healed and the same, not duplicity, living in two parts, but the same healed man at home that he is out in the streets, that marriages can be changed, families can be changed, our city, our communities, even our world. I really think that it starts with the man.
Yeah. Yeah. Amen.
Yeah.
Okay. So what is our best way to help this book get off the shelves and into hands? Is that just to spread it to our churches online? What would be the best way to support you?
Yeah, I definitely your churches, because I would love, like I said, that I do believe that it kind of has to be promoted in a specific way, because men are not really going to be going out there searching for it. So you got
Yeah.
to put it in their face and be like, hey, this is what it is. So if you can get it, if you know leadership in your church that is willing to promote it, on a larger scale, that would be great. That's what I think would work best. But yeah, it can be purchased on Amazon, but also too at my Instagram page, Shay Joyner. I have in the bio of my page, there's links to where if a church wanted to purchase books in bulk, like if a church decided, you know what, we love this, we are going to offer this on a larger scale for the men in our church, there's a way that you can get it much, much cheaper than if you purchased it straight from Amazon in a large quantity. You can purchase it through me directly for way cheaper. That's for like churches, obviously. So,
Okay, cool. All right. Well, awesome. Thank you so much for sharing this with us today. Thanks for being here.
yeah,
I appreciate,
it.
I appreciate you following God's lead and writing this book. And we just pray God's favor on it. I really do. So thanks so much for being here.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Hey, Wellness Warrior. I pray that blessed you. And if so, it would bless me big if you would write a 5-star review and subscribe on Apple Podcasts. Not only would this make me super happy, but it will allow for others to find this show too. Also, I love to chat over on Instagram, so make sure to take a screenshot, share to your Instagram stories, and tag me at @TheShanWright so I can see it and we can keep chatting and bring other moms to chat with us. Until we get to chat again, mama friend, may the Lord's face shine upon you and give you peace.